December 23, 1943. The South China Sea stretches black as ink, broken only by the faint ripple of waves against the USS Tang's hull. Inside the cramped conning tower, you can almost hear the hum of the diesel engines vibrating through the steel. Lieutenant Commander Richard O'Kane peers through the periscope, eyes narrowing. Shapes loom in the darkness, convoys of Japanese freighters glinting faintly under the moonlight. Each one is a potential target, each one a lifeline for the enemy. The sonar operator whispers the depth readings, heartbeats in sync with the sonar pings. Outside, the sea is calm, but inside, the tension is suffocating. One miscalculation, one misfired torpedo, and the steel Leviathan could become a coffin. O'Kane's jaw tightens. He knows exactly what's at stake. A distant splash, torpedo wake or mere wave? The crew holds their breath. Shadows shift. Something in the water moves unnaturally fast. Tang is about to strike, but will the Japanese be ready?
The periscope frame shudders slightly as O'Kane steadies it, calculating angles with military precision. Target bearing 045, range 1,200 yards, he murmurs. The crew shifts silently, every movement measured, every breath a countdown. The torpedo tubes hum as the mechanisms ready themselves, metal teeth poised to strike. Then, a flash of water, a violent hiss. The first torpedo screams through the dark sea, cutting toward the largest freighter. Seconds stretch like hours. Below deck, the men grip rails, knuckles white. You can almost feel the vibration of the explosion before it happens, a deafening, water-shattering roar that rocks the sub. Smoke rises from the freighter's hull. Flames lick the night sky. Crewmen in the enemy vessel scramble, terrified. The other ships scatter, trying to evade, but Tang is relentless. Another torpedo fires, another strike. The South China Sea transforms into chaos. One sub, one crew, and an enemy supply line teetering on the edge of collapse. But as the echoes fade, a new tension grips the air. The Japanese aren't just fleeing, they're regrouping. Counter-submarine ships are on the move, and Tang's luck is about to be tested in ways no one aboard could predict.
The water around Tang is eerily still again, but the silence is deceptive. Sonar clicks pierce the darkness, metallic echoes bouncing off unseen hulls. Japanese destroyers are closing fast, hunting the ghost that just ripped through their convoy. Each ping is a heartbeat, each murmur from the sonar operator a warning. O'Kane's eyes narrow as he watches the radar screen. You can almost feel the tension pressing against the bulkheads. The enemy ships fan out, searching methodically, their searchlights slicing through the night like knives. The smell of diesel and salt water mixes with the metallic tang of fear. Inside the control room, the crew waits, muscles taut. One wrong move, one misjudged turn, and Tang could be swallowed by the sea or shredded by depth charges. O'Kane whispers, almost to himself, "We're not just hunters tonight. We're the hunted." A sudden sonar blip. Closer. Too close. The sub trembles as a faint rumble reaches them, the telltale approach of a depth charge. Time slows. The night becomes alive with sound and motion, and then a choice. Dive deep? Counterattack? The wrong decision here could mean the end.
The sub shudders violently. Metal groans. Water pounds against the hull like thunder. Depth charges explode in rapid succession above, sending shockwaves rattling through the Tang. Instruments jump off scale. Lights flicker. You could almost feel the sheer force through the steel walls. Below deck, the crew hunkers down. Hearts hammering. The smell of hydraulic oil and ozone fills the air. O'Kane grips the periscope mount, teeth clenched, eyes scanning for the faintest shadow of the enemy above. Each pulse of the sonar echoes the pounding of their hearts. A particularly close detonation rocks the sub sideways. Tools fall, dials spin, the hull creaks as if whispering a warning. Too deep, too fast, too late. But O'Kane remains calm, calculating, steady. One wrong move now, and Tang would be crushed beneath the pressure of the ocean and the wrath of the Japanese Navy. Then, through the chaos, a pattern emerges. The destroyers are predictable. Their tactics are aggressive, but mechanical. O'Kane sees an opening, a chance to turn fear into fury.
O'Kane takes a deep breath, steadying his thoughts amid the shaking hull. "Prepare to surface," he orders quietly. The crew exchanges wary glances. Surfacing now is audacious. Above, Japanese destroyers patrol, oblivious to the predator lurking beneath. The sub rises slowly, almost ghost-like, cutting through the black waves. The moon glints off the deck as the crew moves with precision, torpedo tubes ready. Every man knows the stakes. One misstep, and they become nothing but debris beneath the sea. From the conning tower, O'Kane watches the enemy convoys, calculating angles, speeds, and timing. You can almost feel the tension in his fingertips as he traces imaginary lines across the waves. Then, with a calm that belies the chaos, he issues the order: fire. Torpedoes slice through the water, striking with unerring accuracy. One freighter explodes, another breaks apart. Smoke and fire paint the night. In minutes, the sea becomes a graveyard, littered with enemy ships. Yet, in the midst of victory, a haunting thought lingers. How long before the hunters become the hunted again?
The explosions fade, leaving only the echo of distant chaos. Tang slips silently back beneath the waves, like a shadow swallowed by the night. The Japanese destroyers above are frantically searching, unaware of the phantom below. Every creak of the hull, every whisper of water feels amplified in the tense silence. O'Kane leans close to the periscope, scanning the horizon. Convoy survivors scatter, trying to regroup, but the damage is done. The Tang's wake of destruction has sown panic across the sea lanes. You can almost taste the salt on the air, mixed with smoke from burning freighters. Inside, the crew barely breathes. Their fingers hover over controls, ready for sudden movement. One wrong signal, one accidental sound, and the enemy could pinpoint them. Yet beneath the fear, exhilaration simmers. They've become the nightmare of Japanese supply lines, a ghost that strikes and vanishes without warning. But the reprieve is brief. Somewhere, deep in the darkness, sonar hums again. Another hunter approaches. The game is far from over. Tang must strike again, or risk being cornered.
The night is thick with tension. Above, faint silhouettes of Japanese escorts glide across the water, unaware of the danger lurking beneath. Inside the Tang, every crewman senses the hunt is about to begin again. The sub feels alive, each vibration carrying a message: move carefully, strike decisively. O'Kane studies the periscope feed. Convoys are regrouping, trying to form a protective screen around the remaining freighters. You can almost feel the weight of the ocean pressing down as he calculates the perfect ambush point. Speed, depth, timing, everything must align perfectly. A ripple in the sonar, the telltale approach of an enemy destroyer. It's moving faster than the others, scanning relentlessly. The crew holds its breath. Every second stretches endlessly. O'Kane grips the periscope. One decision here, one calculated risk could either cripple another supply line or spell disaster.
The periscope frame trembles slightly as O'Kane steadies it. Tubes 1 and 2, ready. he orders in a calm voice that belies the storm around them. The destroyer moves into position, a sleek silhouette cutting through the moonlight, unaware of the death waiting below. Seconds feel like hours. The crew watches the water intently, knuckles white, hearts hammering in sync with the sonar pings. Then, the command. Torpedoes launch, streaking silently through the black water. You can almost see the wake, invisible to the enemy, but deadly nonetheless. The first impact is thunderous. The destroyer shudders violently, hull cracking, water exploding skyward. Flames lick its deck. Crewmen scramble in confusion, panic flooding their faces. Before the enemy can recover, the second torpedo strikes. The destroyer lists, groaning under the weight of destruction. From inside the Tang, there's a brief moment of silent triumph. But O'Kane knows the night is far from over. More ships are converging. More threats loom. The South China Sea has become a battlefield, and the hunter is now deep in enemy territory. The Tang dives swiftly, steel groaning as it cuts through the inky black of the South China Sea. Above, enemy destroyers scream hast, depth charges rattling the water where the sub once hovered. The vibrations hammer against the hull, threatening to shake loose every bolt. Inside, the crew braces, faces pale, eyes wide, hands gripping rails. The sonar operator sweats, listening intently for the telltale clicks of approaching charges. You can almost feel the pressure mounting, the ocean itself pressing down like a living weight. O'Kane remains calm, every motion precise, every order deliberate. Steady, hold depth, wait for the opening, he murmurs. The Tang slips through the underwater shadows, ghost-like, unseen. Yet every second is a gamble. One miscalculation, one sudden charge, and this steel leviathan could be lost to the abyss forever. A sudden ping, closer than before. The destroyers are honing in. Panic flares, but O'Kane's mind races. They must outsmart the hunters now, or risk becoming the hunted.
A deafening explosion rocks the Tang as a depth charge detonates perilously close. Water shudders through the hull, lights flicker, and loose equipment slides across the deck. The crew holds on, hearts pounding, adrenaline surging. You can almost taste the metallic tang of fear in the air. O'Kane's voice cuts through the chaos. Hard starboard, full silent running. Every hand moves with trained precision, every footstep measured. The sub glides deeper, weaving through thermal layers that confuse the sonar. The enemy charges pound above like thunder, but the Tang slips away, almost like a shadow melting into the depths. Minutes stretch into an eternity. Below, the ocean is pitch black, oppressive. But slowly, the vibrations fade. The destroyers lose the trail. The sub's hull creaks in relief, and the crew exhales collectively, though the tension never fully lifts. O'Kane allows himself a brief glance at the sonar. No contacts. But the danger is far from over. Somewhere, enemy ships are regrouping, plotting, ready for another strike. And Tang must stay one step ahead or face annihilation. The crew of Tang settles into a tense rhythm. Diesel engines hum softly. Sonar clicks mark the pulse of the deep, and the ocean stretches endlessly around them. Every shadow, every ripple on the surface could be an enemy scout. Every movement requires patience, precision, and nerves of steel. O'Kane studies the charts, mapping likely convoy routes. He knows the Japanese supply lines are fragile now. Every ship lost further cripples their war effort. You can almost feel the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. One wrong choice could undo everything the Tang has achieved. Hours pass. The sun climbs higher, glinting off distant waves. Then a faint sonar ping.
An approaching convoy, heavily guarded. The moment of truth is coming again. Will the Tang strike and vanish, or will the hunter finally be cornered?
O'Kane's eyes narrow at the sonar display. The convoy is within striking distance, its formation tight but predictable. All hands, battle stations, he commands, voice low but sharp. The crew moves like clockwork, torpedoes loaded, periscope trained, every motion precise, as the enemy ships glide above, unaware of the shadow waiting beneath them. Each second is measured, each breath held, the silence almost deafening. Then the moment arrives. O'Kane calculates the angles, speed, and timing with ruthless precision. He gives the order, fire. Torpedoes slice through the water and chaos erupts. Explosions rip through the convoy, smoke and fire painting the dawn sky. The sea becomes a graveyard once more, and the hunter strikes again with lethal efficiency. But even as the last freighter sinks, sonar hums warn of new threats closing in. The Tang cannot linger. Another test of cunning and nerve awaits.
The sub glides deeper into the murky depths, hull creaking under the strain. Above, the furious patrol of Japanese destroyers continues, their sonar clicks slicing through the water like knives. Each detonation sends tremors through the steel, reminding the crew that survival is a delicate dance. O'Kane calculates a new route through thermal layers and undersea ridges, using the ocean itself as a shield. You can almost feel the tension in the cramped control room, every man aware that one miscalculation could mean instant annihilation. The Tang's shadow moves silently, a phantom among giants. Hours pass, the hunt slowing as enemy forces disperse. Finally, the sub surfaces under cover of night, exhausted but victorious. The trail of destruction it leaves behind has crippled the enemy's supply chain, yet the victory is tempered by the knowledge that the next patrol may not be as forgiving. The first light of morning glints off the calm sea, revealing a scene of devastation. Burned freighters float like tombstones, lifeboats drift aimlessly, and the faint smoke of torpedoed vessels curls into the sky. From the conning tower, O'Kane surveys the aftermath, a mixture of triumph and somber reflection on his face. The crew moves silently, weary from the night's relentless tension. You can almost feel the weight of what they've accomplished. The South China Sea has been turned into a graveyard, and a single submarine has rewritten the balance of naval power in this sector. Yet the silence is uneasy. Every victory in war comes with a price, and every kill brings the shadow of the next battle. Messages crackle over the radio. Japanese convoys will reroute, patrols will intensify, and the Tang's next encounter could be even deadlier. O'Kane knows this is far from over, but for now, the hunter rests, if only briefly, before the chase resumes. Below deck, the men of Tang finally allow themselves a moment to breathe. Faces streaked with sweat and grime, hands trembling from adrenaline, they exchange quiet nods of respect. You can almost hear the unspoken bond forming in the close quarters. Men who have stared death in the face and survived together. O'Kane moves through the control room, checking instruments, offering quiet words of encouragement. Every man knows the significance of their actions. Each torpedo fired, each convoy sunk, has shifted the war in subtle but irreversible ways. The South China Sea is no longer safe for the enemy, and their fear will ripple across the fleet. Yet beneath the pride, an unshakable tension remains. Every shadow on the sonar could signal a new threat. Every day carries the potential for disaster. The crew rests, yes, but the hunt is never truly over.
Far across the South China Sea, Japanese Naval Command convenes in urgent sessions. Reports of sunk freighters and shattered convoys flood the room. You can almost feel the panic rising among officers, the clatter of typewriters and telegraphs echoing their frustration. Their supply lines are crumbling, their losses mounting, and Tang remains unaccounted for. Admirals and captains debate strategies, dispatching destroyers and patrols in a desperate bid to catch the ghost submarine. Yet O'Kane's tactics have been unpredictable, precise, and lethal. Every countermeasure seems one step behind, and morale among enemy crews begins to falter. Back aboard Tang, the crew remains unaware of the full scale of the fear they've unleashed. But O'Kane senses it. Every movement, every choice confirms that one sub, with one determined crew, can rewrite the rules of engagement in an entire theater of war.
Days pass with eerie quiet. The Tang moves cautiously through the South China Sea, its presence ghost-like beneath the waves. Above, enemy convoys are fewer, their movements hesitant. You can almost feel the tension in the crew as they navigate this fragile lull, each man aware that the next encounter could erupt at any moment. O'Kane paces the control room, eyes scanning sonar and charts. He knows the Japanese are reorganizing, studying patterns, preparing to trap any submarine that ventures too boldly. Every decision now must balance aggression with caution. The sub's previous successes have made them a target. One mistake could be fatal. The sun sets in a fiery haze, painting the ocean with streaks of orange and red. The crew knows this brief calm is temporary. Somewhere ahead, another convoy approaches, another test of nerve and skill. And the Tang must strike again, or risk losing its edge.
Night falls, and the Tang slips silently beneath the waves, prowling the shadowy waters like a predator. The faint glimmer of lights from distant Japanese ships pierces the darkness, revealing a convoy, heavily guarded but unaware of the danger lurking below. You can almost feel the electric tension, the adrenaline coiling tight in every crewman's chest. O'Kane studies the formation with meticulous care. Torpedoes ready, steady. Now, he whispers. Every calculation, every moment of patience matters. The sub glides closer, silently threading the needle between enemy escorts, preparing for a strike that could decide the night. The first torpedo launches, followed by another, streaking through black waters. Explosions rip through the convoy, fire and smoke erupting into the night sky. Panic spreads among the enemy crews, the sea erupting into chaos. Yet the danger is far from over. More destroyers are converging, honing in on the Tang. One misstep now could turn triumph into disaster.
A sudden, violent tremor shakes the Tang. A depth charge detonates alarmingly close, sending a shock wave rattling through the steel hull. You can almost hear the crew's collective gasp, the tension so thick it feels like it could choke. Instruments jump, dials spin, and loose equipment slides across the deck. O'Kane's voice cuts through the chaos. "Dive! Hard to starboard!" The crew reacts instantly, trained reflexes turning panic into precise action. The sub plunges deeper, weaving through thermal layers, evading the sonar sweeps of the approaching destroyers. Every second feels like an eternity. Below, darkness envelops the sub. The enemy's pounding above is relentless, yet somehow, Tang slips through the net. The crew exhales collectively, but only briefly. The shadow of the next threat looms, and every man knows the battle for the South China Sea is far from over.
At last, the immediate danger fades. The sonar falls silent, leaving only the low hum of the engines and the soft creak of steel under pressure. You can almost feel the exhausted relief in the crew as they check instruments, patch minor damages, and allow themselves brief, quiet breaths. O'Kane rises to the conning tower, scanning the wreckage below. Dozens of freighters lie twisted and sunken, smoke rising from still-burning hulls. The supply lines that once seemed invincible now float as broken monuments to the crew's daring and skill. You can almost hear the whispers of history forming in the night air. One submarine, one determined crew, reshaping the theater of war. Yet even in victory, O'Kane's eyes are sharp, mind alert. The Japanese will regroup. More convoys, more destroyers. Tang's hunt is not finished. The ocean remains alive with threats, and survival demands vigilance at every turn.
Weeks later, the Tang returns to base, battered but unbroken. The crew steps onto solid ground, faces streaked with salt, grime, and exhaustion, yet eyes shining with quiet pride. You can almost feel the weight of what they've accomplished. The South China Sea will never forget the havoc they wrought. Reports flood command. Convoys rerouted, morale shattered, supply lines crippled. The daring patrols of a single submarine have forced the enemy to rethink strategy entirely. O'Kane and his men have become more than sailors. They are symbols of audacity, skill, and the lethal potential of determination under pressure. But beneath the accolades, there is reflection. Every ship sunk, every life lost, weighs on the men. War has left its mark, and the sea has claimed its stories. Tang's legacy is written in steel and fire, in the silent, cold depths where victory and danger collide.
The crew gathers in the mess, quiet now, the tension of the past patrol lingering like a shadow. You can almost hear the unspoken thoughts, relief, pride, sorrow. Each man knows that the ocean they've prowled hides both triumph and tragedy beneath its surface. O'Kane sits apart for a moment, staring at a worn map of the South China Sea. Every mark represents a battle fought, a convoy sunk, a risk taken. He feels the weight of responsibility pressing down, not just for the victories, but for the lives that were lost on both sides. The silence is heavy, broken only by the low hum of the ship's systems. In this quiet, the human cost of war becomes tangible. Yet even as they reflect, the crew understands one truth. Courage, strategy, and resolve can turn a single submarine into a force capable of reshaping the tides of battle. News of the Tang's exploits travels quickly through Allied command. Admirals and officers speak in hushed tones of a submarine that moves like a ghost, striking fear into Japanese supply lines. You can almost feel the growing legend, each retelling sharpening the image of O'Kane and his crew as unmatched hunters of the deep. The enemy responds with caution. Convoys are rerouted, escorts increased, and sonar patrols intensified. The shadow of the Tang looms over every shipment, every maneuver. Fear becomes a weapon as potent as torpedoes, forcing the Japanese to operate in constant uncertainty. Back aboard, the crew was aware of their reputation, but experience tempers pride with vigilance. One misstep could undo everything. In war, glory is fleeting. Survival demands constant alertness. And the South China Sea remains an unforgiving, ever-changing battlefield.